can I see your pen just for a second? Yeah, then borrow that, thank you very much. Okay, and so I'll show you the eye, I'll show it over here, I'll show it over here, and it moves into, it looks very real. No, I gotta make sure I do one thing, I gotta make sure it's clean. I wanna do that. Sometimes I have to use Windex, you know. Squeak, clean, right? But you see, it looks real. It looks normal. I mean, it moves, it cracks, it goes up, it goes down, and so it looks like a real eye. It looks very real, very normal, very natural. It goes up, it goes down, it moves around. And she says, oh, you're pulling our leg. That eye is real. Oh, really? If this were a real eye, would I be able to do this? And I just tapped on the eye like that, and she said, ah! And then she said this, does that hurt? She's a senior at a Christian school. It's a piece of plastic I'm tapping on. And then she said, can you see out of it? I am glad to report that that was not an ACE school. You know, those other Christian schools, those kids are not too smart. There's your pen. I flew home one time. I went into the Washington Dulles Airport and I walked into the red carpet room for United Airlines. And there was a lady sitting behind the desk and she had a medical bandage on her eye. Her name is Sharon. She's helped me with tickets for years. I walked into her and said, Sharon, what's the problem? She says, well, I'm facing eye surgery. I'm sorry to hear that. What's the situation? She said they discovered a growth in my eye and they don't know if they'll be able to treat it, if they'll have to take my eye. I said, you know, I've been through the same thing. She said, well, I know you were in a patch, but I didn't know why. I said, well, mine was the same. There was a growth in my eye, but it was growing on the optic nerve. So there was nothing they could do to treat it without destroying it, so the best option for me was just to have the eye removed. And I wanted to be an encouragement to them, because when you've been through the same thing, you can be an encouragement to those who are facing it, and I wanted to be an encouragement to them. And I said, really, it's not a big deal. I said, you're in the hospital 3 hours, you go home, by the end of the week, you're back at work. I said, it really is a minor procedure. And the eyepieces that they have nowadays look so real and normal, natural. Would you like to see mine? And she said, yes. And so I did what I always do. I turned around, I took my handkerchief and I cleaned the eye, and I turned it around. And as soon as she looked, she turned away. And she wouldn't look back. And I thought, that's odd. Nobody's ever done that, because usually when somebody wants to see it, when they look at it closely and say, wow, that's amazing. Even has little blood vessels painted. It's amazing. She wouldn't even look. And I kept telling her how normal and natural it was. But she would not look. Finally, I lowered the patch and I left. I couldn't get out of my mind why she wouldn't look. I'd taken the tram back over to the main terminal, and I thought, oh man, I wonder if when I was cleaning it, I turned the eye, and inadvertently I showed it to her crooked. And so I walked into the men's restroom, walked up to the mirror and lifted the patch, and sure enough, that eye was looking up over there. One eye was looking straight ahead, one eye was looking up over there. And I told her how natural it looks. I told her nobody would ever even know that you had this surgery. And I felt so bad. But I could not get back to the security to go see her. But I'm back at the airport 3 days later. I immediately go to the red carpet room. I immediately go in, and she's sitting there. I thought, good. I walk up and I said, Sharon, I have got to apologize to you. She said, why? I said, I had no idea the other day when I showed you my eye that I had turned it and it was crooked. She says, oh, don't think a thing about it. She said, when you walked through those doors, I thought to myself, there goes the most positive man I've ever met in my life. If you thought that eye looked good. She said it was horrendous. I don't know if you catch on, I suspect you do. I don't have a problem with one eye, never have. My wife can tell you, my sons can tell you, the guys traveling with me can tell you. It hasn't been a problem since day one. I'll tell you why. I attribute it to an attitude. And I'll say this, as long as you have the right attitude, when things that are undesirable happen, things are going to come out okay. But if you have the wrong attitude, it'll eat you alive. The attitude that we have is the key to our actions. Why does the Bible say we ought to have joy? Why does the Bible say we ought to have rejoicing? Why does the Bible say we ought to glory in tribulation? Why does the Bible say we ought to have great rejoicing even though there are times of heaviness and sorrow? I'll give two reasons, much without explanation. But number one, the Bible says the joy of the Lord is my strength. You lose your joy, you lose your effectiveness as a believer, as a Christian. If there were no other reason, the second would be this: your testimony is at stake. And imagine I'm on the mountaintop. Wow! There's joy on the mountaintop. Hey, there's rejoicing on the mountaintop. Everything's going my way. There's great rejoicing here. That is the way everybody acts on the mountaintop. Everybody. But imagine for a moment you're in some of the deepest waters you've ever been in. Nothing's going right. Everything's falling apart. Bad things are happening. And yet in the midst of that, you still have joy in your relationship with your God, knowing that nothing has ever taken him by surprise. And you rejoice and you glory in